You're watching WCSD from Calloway County High School.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
When you think of Murray, Kentucky, what do you imagine? Murray State University, the friendliest town in America, or the Big Cow, also known as Sirloin Stockade? For years now, it has been voted as the #1 restaurant and the #1 buffet in Murray, Kentucky. We have owner Adam Carver to talk to us about his entrepreneurship in Sirloin Stockade. Hello everyone, I'm Bradley Smith and this is Calloway Connections. So Mr. Carver, first off, we just wanted to ask you, how long have you owned Sirloin Stockade?
Lisa and I purchased Sirloin Stockade February 1st, 1994 from Ron and Joyce Solin, who had owned and operated it for 13 years prior. So we've been in business now 22 years and almost 2 months.
So very successful over a long time.
Yeah, we're hanging in there. So the restaurant itself was actually originally opened in Murray, Kentucky in 1977. So certainly it's pretty amazing that it stood the test of time and continues to prevail to this day. So.
Could you share your story of how you got to where you are, why you wanted to get into the restaurant business?
Yes, I'll tell you, I actually started out when I was in high school. My father was in the U.S. Air Force, and I got a job at the Officers Club working. When I attended college, I got a job in a restaurant to help pay my way through. And it was one of those things that sort of one thing led to another. I really began to feel like, you know, this was really something I was pretty good at and something I really enjoyed. I liked the excitement of it. I liked the high energy, the challenges that come with it, the instant gratification you get. Obviously, you're serving someone a meal. If you do a good job, they're going to be thankful. So that feels really good. But the whole opportunity to get to know so many people. And obviously also the opportunity to employ people and to impact them, hopefully see them grow on and have success.
I'm sure you certainly got to meet a lot of people over these 22 years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's probably the most gratifying thing is just the relationships you build. It becomes kind of like, literally your own family. Like I said, I remember putting you in high chairs, and so many of your classmates here. And all these years later, here you are interviewing me, as a young teenager. And so that's a pretty neat experience.
So what made you make the decision to go from working in a restaurant to owning one?
That's a good question, and I think about that a lot. And it's really the way that happened was my wife and I were both successful in our own separate restaurant businesses. We had both had a ton of experience and were running other people's restaurants successfully. And almost simultaneously, both of us were presented an opportunity for advancement from being a general manager, in my case a partner manager, to becoming a district manager, like a regional guy that would be responsible for running multiple restaurants for a company. Lisa and I had married in 1992, and we thought, you know what, instead of running someone else's restaurants, how about we put our eggs into one basket and run our own restaurant? So we began speculating, both of us, still holding down our existing jobs, looking all throughout the Midwest for an opportunity, a place to start our own business. And we ended up landing in Murray, Kentucky, probably about a year after we began searching. So here we are 22 years plus later, still here.
If you could go back in time 22 years ago and tell yourself, a new restaurant owner, something about running the restaurant business, what would that be?
Wow, that's Let me think. That's a great question. You know, I've made some mistakes through the years, but for the most part, most of our decisions I feel like have been pretty good. The one thing that I would tell myself is never get comfortable. Never always be prepared for competitive intrusion. This not only can occur, is going to occur. It's inevitable. It's just the nature of the business. We are going to always continually have competitive intrusion occur, and you have to be set up to be able to overcome that. So that's one thing. Also, the market is volatile. Basically, a business like ours, when the economy fluctuates, people's disposable income does. And, you have to be positioned to be able to endure economic downturns. And know that there's certain times when business is going to be lean. Along the way, good times and bad, pay close attention to the costs of doing business. Don't get lazy or complacent. There were some periods in my career where I can remember where business was booming and we just sort of relaxed. And boy, when the times got tough and we had to really make some hardcore adjustments. But once we've learned that, and now that obviously we've been here and endured all those times, we are set up to really be able to sustain during good times and during bad times, and be able to maintain our business and be prepared.
You mentioned how volatile the market is, and we've seen the closing of so many restaurants in Murray. How has Sirloin Stockade managed to not become one of those restaurants that has closed?
I think a lot of that has to do with, we independently own and operate our restaurant, as opposed to having, a general manager come in there. Not that they don't have a vested interest in the business, but, they get paid a salary and a bonus. They don't really, if their restaurant fails, they just go get another job. Whereas in our particular case, it's our life. We own the restaurant, the business, the land, the property, everything. So, we have a really, strong interest in the success of the restaurant. We're going to stay focused to assure that we sustain. And I think a lot of times, the demographics of a marketplace are really critical to being able to know if a restaurant can make it or not. And sometimes I think a company comes in and maybe invests too much capital in building the property, which can cost upwards of $3 million plus to do, and they don't take into consideration the volume of business that they need to do to break even, and sometimes they overestimate the marketplace. That's one thing that can happen. Other times, they just simply don't operate well. Like they maybe have an opportunity to do well enough, but just don't operate well enough, consistently enough to generate the high enough volume to offset their expenses.
What is one of the biggest challenges of operating a restaurant?
Well, it's expensive to run a restaurant, especially one like ours. The cost of business itself is very challenging to overcome. Food cost is one of it's our number one expense, especially in a buffet concept like we have. We're a value concept, so our customers are very price sensitive, and we have to be very careful with that. The last couple of years, everyone knows the cost of food has gone up. You go to the grocery store, you see it. You come to, it's the same thing occurs for us, and we have to try to somehow or another manage through that. So the cost of business is very challenging. Obviously, right now there's a big debate with the political situation with increasing minimum wage, and a business like mine is going to be most affected by that for sure. So it's very challenging. Another great challenge is staffing. we're very fortunate in Murray, Kentucky, because we have a university here with a tremendous pool of young, talented young people that are available to work. Two great high schools that we have tons of employees from. So it's really a pretty good marketplace for employees. But it is still, when it comes to, we employ actually about 90 plus people at our restaurant, and it's very, very challenging on a daily basis to fulfill our staffing needs. And the young people that work for us have busy schedules, and we have to try to manage around what they got going on. So that's pretty tough. So I would say costs of business, including food costs and labor, expenses in operating a business are going up, no matter whether you're a restaurant or any other business. Utility costs, insurance costs, all of those different expenses, and then obviously staffing. Being able to maintain the staff, and keep your restaurant operating with it. So.
Well, we about have to take a break, so we'll be right back with Mr. Adam Carver, owner of Sirloin Stockade.
Here. Michael Adams?
Here.
Michael Adams.
Michael Adams.
Students who miss 18 days of school in any grade risk falling behind and not graduating. Absences add up. Keep track at boostattendance.org today.
We are back with owner of Sirloin Stockade, Adam Carver. Let's just continue our conversation where we were at.
Okay.
We all know that you recently went through a remodel. How has that affected your business?
Oh wow, that's been a long time coming. It's something that I've been, planning on doing for several years. Our business had grown year in and year out, and our facility seemed to continue to shrink around us. And it was coming to a point where it was very difficult. There were so many obstacles in our way for us to be able to continue to grow and continue to be able to even do what we were doing in our existing business. And some of our facilities, for instance, our bathrooms, our storage capacity in the kitchen, we had some maintenance issues in the kitchen. Seating capacity was an issue. We're always running out of tables and seats, and so all of these things had begun to pile up, and it was tough for me because we're kind of in an older facility. The decision was whether or not to try to figure out a way of refurbishing the facility, or maybe even consider relocating and building a new facility. And then you take a look at the expenses of both ideas. But I was very fortunate to meet with Bill Adams Construction, Bill Adams himself, and he and I collaborated on a plan to try to, figure out a way of taking our existing facility and enable us to, move into the future with a facility that enables us to continue to grow. And the plan that he came up with was amazing. I can't tell you how happy we are. And my greatest regret, quite honestly, is not doing it about 10 years ago. It has operationally, from back to front, with the expanded kitchen, the expanded storage capacity, some simple adjustments with how we take our deliveries of food, a new dish room, all these things that a lot of people don't see, have had an amazing impact on our ability to do what we do every day. So.
One of the growing issues in the news is a discussion of increasing minimum wage. You being in the restaurant business, this would directly affect how your business operates.
Yeah.
Could you tell us how in depth this would affect your business?
Yeah. I talked a little bit about it earlier. The fact that, a business like ours is, our margins are very slim. We operate on volume. The volume of business we do, our margins are small. So anytime you have an increased expense, for instance, food costs or labor costs, it's very difficult to overcome because, like I said, our margins are so small in a business like ours, and that's on the other end of that. It's why you see so many restaurants going out of business. They can't afford to stay in business. So when they talk about a minimum wage increase, we have to really be prepared to make the necessary adjustments to be able to overcome that. Our particular market segment, we're a value concept, and our customers are very price sensitive, so we have a challenge there too. But ultimately, we're not going to be able to completely, endure the extra labor costs. We're going to have to pass that on to the consumer. You don't hear that all too often, but a business like ours, we simply cannot afford to absorb that, and ultimately the consumer will have to pay a certain portion of it. But that's the way things are in the marketplace. Actually, one of the politicians was recently in the restaurant, Mr. Carver, who is running for the state senate, I believe. And I had an opportunity to spend some time talking to him and explaining my point of view. We employ predominantly, high school, college kids that are, really needing the type of jobs we offer. They're not necessarily looking to, operate a household with the income they make. They're just looking for money to help get them through. And a lot of times, I don't think the jobs we provide get enough credit. But we're certainly, we're proud to offer them, and we're proud of the people that we do employ. So.
One last question before we let you get out of here.
Okay.
We know that you work with your family. How is that, working with them?
Yes, I do. Obviously, my wife and I have been in business together now for 22 plus years. And going into the business, our plan was her strengths are, when she's really good at the whole restaurant business, but what she enjoys the most and what she's really good at is the administrative end. And for me, what I enjoy the most is the operational end. I enjoy the food piece. I enjoy the customer relation piece. I enjoy the employees. So our plan going in was, for the most part, I'm going to be the operator and she's going to be the administrator. So I think the fact that we had diverse, completely separate areas of responsibility has been helpful through the years. So we complement one another and help one another. Obviously she can help in operations and I can help her administratively. But my daughters have been working there since they were around 12 years old. So that's been it's been a real blessing to us to be able to see them grow as young ladies and learn the different skills, from doing the salad bar, maintaining the salad bar now. They're waiting tables and actually helping out with some management duties. So it's been neat. It's really been, like I said, a true blessing in our lives to own a business in a small, amazing community like Murray, Kentucky.
Well, thank you for coming and talking with us, Mr. Carver. I'm Bradley Smith, and this has been Calloway Connections.